Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to get into this real quick. This thing with Candace Owens, Red Pill Black. Just had a debate with Blaire White on the Rubin Report, and man, it was a train wreck. I mean, it was bad. It was bad. So right off the bat, um, Candace decides to use identity politics. So right off the bat, Candace tries to use identity politics for some reason. I have no idea why, but she was like, "Hey, yeah, so I just want to make sure that my followers, the people, my fans, know and understand why I'm calling this woman a man, a full-grown man, and how we've got a full-grown man debating a full-grown woman." And I mean, she can address her however she wants. It doesn't matter. But to go out of your way to say that, to just be like, "Hey, yeah, I just want to make it a point. I want to let everybody here know that is not a woman in any sense." And it's like, dude, look, nobody cares. All right, you're not here for Blaire White because she's a tran. Like, even she doesn't care. She doesn't care. She finds that you're purposely trying to be disrespectful. But I mean, I could say that Blaire White I could use he for Blaire White. I honestly don't think that Blaire White really truly gives a shit. Probably not. I mean, it's a little insulting. It's a little like, huh, okay, I kind of see how it is. But generally speaking, I don't think that she really cares. And when you go out of your way to do that, it's pathetic. Is really what it is. And it doesn't even come off as like, it doesn't even seem sincere. It doesn't seem like there's no good intentions around it. I don't see any good intentions around that. I don't know. Doesn't look good on you, Candace. So then it basically just kind of devolved into this screaming match cat fight, which I thought it was really funny because you don't really see guys just blah 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 just shouting at each other for the entire video. I mean, if they're just shouting, they're just both just screaming at each other. Candace much more so, but Blaire White, she engaged in it quite a bit as well. So you shouldn't have done that, White. Like, but I'm pretty sure that you're probably aware of that. So no, I mean, you get caught up. You get caught up in the passion, and she that was her aim. It seemed like her whole goal was to just shout this whole time, because that's exactly what she did. It's exactly what she did. So I thought it was really funny that you've got them sit there screaming at each other the whole time, and in the beginning she's like, "I want you to understand, I'm a woman and she's a grown man, or he's a grown man," right? Like, that's, and then it devolves into a cat fight. Which, what is a cat fight? It's two women attacking each other, just going at it. And what happened? They just went at it. It was a cat fight. It was two women just going at it. As headache-inducing as it was, looking back, it is kind of funny. Come on, that's kind of funny, right? So, anyways, let's see. So, I'll be honest right here, as I always am. I don't care about this website. I know it seems like a lot of people do. Honestly, I don't think that a lot of people truly care about the website. I think that it's the starting point for where people start asking questions, but in the grand scheme of things, it's relatively inconsequential, in the sense of, like, it didn't get fully completed. The vision was not realized, though it did have some consequences where it became a tool of sorts where doxing could be used, right? Like that database, they gathered a bunch of data, and it could be collected by others, which is not good. But I think that with a lot of this stuff, a lot of it really just boils down to Candace just being internet illiterate. She just does not understand, and I still think that she does not understand a lot of what's going on with the internet and how some of this stuff is working and functioning and happening. And I don't think she really understands why people are actually mad at her. I'm only going to speak for myself, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of people also feel the same way. I think that they just probably get caught up more in the conversations of this whole website, because that's the starting point, right? Now, when I look at the website, so here's kind of my experience with getting into this. So as I stated in one of my previous video, which feel free to go check that out. So what happened was, I first watched, after already knowing and liking Red Pill Black, I saw this video pop up by Andy Worski, and it mentioned Candace Red Pill Black Owens, right? And I was like, and it was titled something along the lines of like the truth about Candace Owens, or the truth about Red Pill Black, or Red Pill Black exposed, or it was something along those lines, right? Like, hey, we've got some information for you about Candace that you're probably gonna make you think a little bit. And I'm sure, because I want to know if somebody's acting funky. I don't care who it is. If they're acting funky, I want to know about it, especially if they're representing me in some way, right? So, and I'm following them, right? So I was like, okay, let's see what's going on. So I'm watching it, and he basically just kind of goes through, and he's like, yeah, there's this website, blah blah blah. It's a doxing website, and I mean, honestly, if that thing was fully realized, it would be a doxing site, and it would be dangerous. It would, well, sort of. Trolls would get to it, and it would just collapse. So in that sense, I'm not really even bothered by it all that much, because trolls would just destroy it. So Andy Worski, I watched his video, then he pushed me over to Tree of Logic. I watched her 2 videos, and I was like, oh, okay, because she kind of goes through this like a walkthrough of the website, and then I went and visited the website, and it was still up at that time, and I was like, I see the problem with this site. At that point, I was like, I see the problem with this site, but my bigger concern was, what kind of person am I following who could think of this kind of site, and then to not realize how dangerous it could be. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of the red pill term, but it holds a good amount of value, at least right now. It's in a healthy state. I'll say this. So if somebody could, back in the day, think of that, then get red pilled, and then like almost a year later, that core page is still up. I mean, if she basically says that she says I didn't know what an actual splash page was, and it sounds like she learned on that show what a splash page is, which to me is baffling, because everybody was telling her in all these videos that apparently, I guess I think that she said she didn't watch very many or all of them or anything, but she also kind of poked at a bunch of different things that other people had said. So I'm not really sure where she is with all that stuff. I don't know. But when you have somebody who could think of that and then leave that up for this entire almost a year, right? That website is up and functioning and, well, pseudo functioning to some degree. Like, you could input information, you could receive emails from them that are verifying accounts and stuff. Like, so it's not like it was just completely non-functioning. It had a database, it had all this stuff. Whether she was unaware of it or not, I can get past her just being ignorant and not knowing stuff about it. I could get past all that stuff. So basically, I saw that and I was like, okay, this is weird. This is weird. I wonder what she's going to have to say. So she comes out with this, with all these like tweets and Facebook posts and stuff like that, where she's basically just pointing fingers at what is essentially me. And I hadn't even done anything yet at this point. I hadn't made a YouTube video. I hadn't done anything. I'm questioning what is going on with her and what is going on in this situation. And you have all the contexts of her talking about this stuff on all of her other interviews, which I only saw the Dave Rubin Report. I didn't see the other ones. And going back and listening to her, it sounds like A, either she's lying, B, she's ignorant and she doesn't know what she's talking about as far as like what the problem is with it, or she's just lying. And so we have to basically rule these things out. Like, we have to find out what it is. Now I believe that she's just ignorant on that stuff. But now at this point I don't have a problem with that, because that would have been perfectly fine. I don't have a problem with you just being ignorant on something and then learning from it and then moving on, which is what happened to you when you got red-pilled. You were ignorant about a lot of shit. You got red-pilled, you understood a bunch of shit, and you moved on. Great. I like it. I'm all for that. But it doesn't seem that that's what happened with you this time. Instead, what you did was you just came out and started pointing fingers and tossing labels on people and doing all kinds of stuff that just didn't make any sense. Especially because it's like we're just asking very valid questions. Like, what's up with this website? What's up with this? Then everything got just totally turned around, got all kinds of messed up when you started pointing all these fingers and doing all that stuff. Because now everybody's like, what are you talking about? And you start making up all this stuff about like Richard Spencer, like doing all this stuff, as if he's a part of it, as if he tweets, reposts, or he retweets somebody else's tweets that explain the situation. And now you're attaching him, and not only that, then you also call people like me and all your other critics, through implications of some sort, you call them white supremacists. I mean, you gotta be kidding me. And this is what people are mad about, is the aftermath of how you handled this situation. I don't know, it sounds like you don't even understand what you've done wrong in how you've handled this situation. It was completely reactionary. You just you took it super personally, which I can understand to some degree, you taking it personally, but the way that you handled this whole thing was just awful. Like, you made everything worse. You made everything worse. So if she had come out and just addressed the website, and acknowledged that it was bad, I think that a lot of these issues would have just gone away. But she didn't do that. She just came out swinging, and she just, from all of our perspectives, she's just making stuff up. None of it makes any sense to us. Especially when you start throwing in Richard Spencer, and it's the left wings that's doing it, and when really, like, it's your own critics. It's not even your own critics. It's your own following, like your own people are asking these questions, and you, like, the left wing's not going after you. We're not doing that. A lot of us were on the left, and we got pushed out. And now this is where we stand. We stand kind of where we try to kind of hit the middle of the road. We usually lean a little bit more to the right. So just the way that you handled this entire situation was really bad. And watching this interview, or this debate, honestly, it was just painful. You were wholly uncomposed. You were clearly furious about, and you were furious to the point to where you were not really listening, and you weren't really understanding what Blaire White was trying to tell you, and you would interrupt her constantly and change the subject or just toss things back at her. So that was a big issue that we had, was that you basically would just say, yeah, well, you too. You've done this, so why don't you go make a video about so-and-so? Because they lied about something. And it's like, no. No. That's not how this works. Okay? You came out and you made a bunch of lies. Either they were lies, or, well, I don't know how they weren't lies, because that shit just got made up. I don't know. You'd have a hard time convincing me that you weren't just flat out lying, or just completely delusional about what was happening to you. That might be something. You might just be delusional about what's actually happening. Can't count it out. So, and you shouldn't count it out either. I suggest that you actually re-examine everything that's going on. So I think that. So then what happened is you come out and you're just pointing fingers at everybody. And you're not listening to Blaire White. You're not doing any of that stuff. You're just screaming over Blaire White and Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin, I mean, I'm sorry, man. That must have been awful. You're just sitting there just getting trampled over. And really, I don't even know that there was anything you could do. If it was me, I probably would have used some bass in my voice and shouted to get their attention and say, you guys need to calm down, because this isn't going to work. But that didn't happen. You were too respectful. Sometimes a heavy hand needs to be laid. And that certainly would have been a good time to control the room, because Candace controlled the room. And unfortunately for Candace, it only made her look bad. It made her look very bad. But one of the big issues was that what she was doing this whole you too thing. And that doesn't really work. That doesn't really work here, because you're the one that came out with all these lies and all these things, and you're there to explain yourself. That's your whole, that's the point. That's why you've got a debate, right? That's why you've got your debate opponent. That's why you've got Blaire White. But you just ignore any of that stuff. And instead what you do is you just say, oh yeah? And this was a bizarre thing to me. I couldn't believe this. Was like when Blaire White said, like, you tweeted at me about this girl, you made this autistic girl cry or something like that. And she was like, she's not even autistic. She's like, she responded and she's not even autistic. And she's like, I know. I just did that because I knew that you would bring it up and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, so you're playing games now. You're not taking this shit seriously. You're out there for points. You're scraping the bottom of the barrel for points. Little pokes of like, yeah, well, I got you. She doesn't like you. It's like, who cares? Yeah, she doesn't like her. So what? That doesn't matter. You're sitting here and you're actually using someone else as a tool. You're using someone else as a tool to gain a point. Now think about that. How fucked up is that? And you're doing it intentionally. I mean, it's one thing to say, yeah, well, look at what you did. Look at what you did. But in this context, that doesn't matter, because we're not talking about what Blaire's done. We're talking about what you've done. This is the whole point that all of us are watching. The only reason any of us are watching is because we want to know your side, your story. We want answers from you. And all you're doing is diverting the attention, and you're pushing it, and you're shifting things around, and you're saying, yeah, well, what about you? What about you? Why don't you go do this thing? Blah, blah, blah. And you just get you just get crazy, like just off the wall, leaning forward, blah blah blah, blah blah blah, talking to Dave, like, I mean, that was just. I've seen you be professional in all of these other aspects, but you really turned it up to 11 on this one. You just lost your mind. You just lost your damn mind. That's all that happened. You just went on a show so you could lose your mind. I don't know why you would do that. Honestly, if you had just answered the questions on Matt Christensen's channel the day before, I think things would have gotten a lot better. A lot better. Because he was asking the real, the valid, good, strong questions. You just refused to answer them because you were saving it for Dave Rubin. When really, you didn't even answer those questions on Dave Rubin. You just blah, 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 just lost your shit. And you got Blaire White to lose her shit too. And then you just frustrated the crap out of Dave Rubin because he's like, I don't even know what to do here. This is ridiculous. I mean, honestly, if you think you're going to go back on Dave Rubin, I don't know. Maybe he'll have you back. Who knows? But with the way that you behaved, I mean, that was utterly disrespectful. That was absolutely disrespectful to Dave Rubin. The way that you handled this whole situation was very poor. It was very poor. As I've mentioned before, just pointing the fingers and shifting the blame and making things up. That's where you got all your hate. If you had just come out and apologized, or if you had just come out and apologized, or answered some questions, honestly, I think you would have been fine. Just as everybody has been saying. I mean, I believe Andy Worski has said it. Tree of Logic. I'm pretty sure Tree of Logic has even said it. She is upset about her. She has been doxxed. Apparently, I'm not going to say that I know that to be true, but because it's mostly inconsequential, I'll just take her word for it. I believe like Jeff Holiday may have said something along those lines. Computing Forever, he certainly said she should have just came out and apologized, or at least explained herself. But no, what did you do? You waited this long. You waited weeks, and you just made it so everybody could make videos. You gave enough time for people to make videos. That's basically what happened. I mean, there were a couple right off the bat, like there were a couple early on, but if you would have answered questions, I think that a lot of that stuff would have stopped. You would not have had to deal with any of that. You would not be in the shitstorm that you were in now. I would have been perfectly fine. I would have been like, oh, okay, she was just stupid back then, and she's internet illiterate. So what? She'll learn. I'm not tripping about that. But no, what you do is you come out swinging. You come out swinging to all your supporters who are here for you. That's what you do. You just come out after us. And we're just like, what are you doing? It's insulting. And all that does is make us question, what are you doing? Should I even follow you? Because if this is the way that you're thinking, and this is the way that you're behaving, I have to select the people that I follow. I select who I want to listen to and who I want to put my trust in. Now, I do my best to diversify. I look to the left, I look to the right, I look to the far right, I look to the far left. I go all over the place, and I try to find my little center balance right somewhere in the middle, right? I try to find the truth through all that, all this garbage nonsense. And so when you come and you're like, you hit the scene and you blow up, right? And I'm like, this is awesome. Just because you've got this message thing, just because of your message, I was like, yeah, She's pretty on point. Now it does after all of this other stuff, it does become a little skeptical about it, and I have gone back and like listened with a closer ear and kind of been a little bit more cautious about the things that you say, and there have been some stuff where I was like, that's funky. Like the last one that I noticed, it was on your last video with the Chelsea, whoever that lady is, and she said something about like blaming this Texas shooting on Republicans or something. And yeah, that's stupid. That is utterly stupid. But what you had said in that video right towards the end was you say we should take people who aren't Trump supporters, who don't believe in this stuff, and just essentially just move them out of the country. Not for them to choose to move out of the country, just to take them, move them out of the country, and then bring people in to our country who agree with Trump. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds very dangerous. That sounds incredibly dangerous. That sounds like you're poking at some kind of dictatorship. Like, hey, you know what? We like Trump, so let's make sure that he just stays in office. If we can just get everybody in the country to support Donald Trump, then we could just say, to hell with it. Get everybody in here. I mean, it doesn't make sense. I don't think that could really happen because we've got laws and stuff in place of it. But that's what that suggestion implies. And I don't feel comfortable going along with that kind of suggestion. I think that's just ridiculous. So, yeah, I think that this is a good wake-up call, that we should be thinking and listening more about what people we follow are actually saying. These little tidbits. Because she'll sit there and she'll say something I agree with, and then she'll say something really tiny that I kind of agree with, and she'll say something that I don't really agree with very much, and then she'll say something, a few more things that I agree with, and then she'll slap in this thing that's just like, whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. That's pushing it. That's pushing it. And I think that kind of, like, for us, as these, whatever kind of community that we're in, I'm resistant to label it something. I know right now it's just the red pill community or whatever, but I think that it's a lot bigger than just the red pill thing. I think that this is like something that what we have to do is just be more skeptical and just cautious about who we're listening to and the things that people are saying, and to be careful about. And it doesn't mean that if they say this one thing, then we're no longer going to like them or follow them or anything like that. But we could just kind of say, hey, like, it's a little much. That's a little much. Like, you might want to tone it down a little bit. We're there to be supportive. We want to help. We should be there to kind of guide a little bit to some degrees. So, really, looking at this whole debacle, if I were to say whose fault is this, that it got to this degree, to this level, it's absolutely Candace's fault. You should have looked at the criticisms of all those people who a year ago had said, like, this is a doxing website. I mean, you look at Chris Raygun and all these other guys. They're sitting there telling you what's wrong with your website. And you're going this entire time, not acknowledging the problems with it. You say I was naive, and you kind of dance around it with these vague terms. Like, I was just naive. Naive about what? What were you naive about? That it was going to work? You were naive that it wasn't going to be, you just didn't think that it was going to get abused? You're acknowledging that if it had come to fruition, then it would not have, then it would have been abused? Like, I don't know where your head is at with these. And unfortunately, on the Dave Rubin, on the Rubin Report, I was hoping to get like an actual to get actual answers from you. But instead what you did was you invited someone who you vehemently do not like, which was your first mistake, because all that did was just set you off to just blah, 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 and just lose your shit. Make yourself look terrible. I mean, why would you do that? And the ridiculous thing is that, like, you chose your debate opponent because you thought it would be interesting. Like, hey, I want to get a black conservative and debate against a white trans woman conservative. Because that's going to be an interesting thing. Oh, and you know what? We know what else we should do? We should also get a gay host. Like, you just basically just reached out. You grabbed as many different kinds of identity politics type things, and you just said, let's make this identity politics thing happen. Let's do this. And it's just ridiculous. It's silly. I mean, to be honest, I was like, shit, Blaire White's, she's aggressive. She should be able to handle this and have fun. But she lost her mind too, unfortunately. So, I don't know. You really messed up a lot of this stuff. You messed up a lot of this stuff. I don't know why. It makes me question your intelligence, to be honest, of like, how did you get to the point that you're at? And not consider all of these kinds of things. Like, and not see, how did you get to this point and not see what the problems are? And not be able to hear the problems. Like, one of the things you should figure out how to get good at is figure out how to receive criticism. How do you receive criticism? That's what you have to do. If you're just straight getting hate, that's one thing. You could just ignore that. But that's not what you were getting. You were claiming a lot that that's what you were getting, but that's not what you were getting. You were getting criticism. It may have been harsh criticism, but rightfully so harsh criticism. And you only made it worse. So, I'm going to just end this here. At this point, there's not really a whole lot for me left to say. I'm not going to drag this on, blah, blah, blah. It's already going to be a relatively long video. So, that's my piece.